Silvan, please.
Hello, everyone. Who here has once set up a mail server with a Bayesian filter? Please raise your hands. Congratulations, you have used AI. This is an AI system. And as we still need to do some AI stuff, I thought, let's talk about some practical applications of this whole thing. So we've built a CTF. I think a lot of people are aware what a CTF is, capture the flag. It is a security challenge. In order to play with it, you can play it. It's online. You need your own device, can be a mobile phone. And of course, you need an internet connection. You can go to a website, hackai.quest. This is a real website. This TLD does exist. I've got the question. There's 2 games linked further down. They have 4 levels. They have a few flags to find. And yes, this runs at my home. This runs on repurposed hardware. So please, if it gets slow because there's 100 people hitting it, it will be slower. It's not a hyperscaler. I'm not a hyperscaler. But what is this about? Well, I wanted to play with AI. I have some old hardware, as you can see. I ended up with a dual Opteron, dual socket, old Opteron machine. I have some E5 CPU. And I had mainboards which could do PCI pass-through. These are some kind of old hardware, as you can see, like DDR3. That's ancient hardware. If you want to play with AI, you want to do something and you don't want to necessarily destroy the environment, you can do a lot of things. These are basically the hardware that I'm using for this whole CTF here. You can do a lot of things with discarded hardware. This was discarded. This used to be some mining companies' old stuff that they just dumped basically because they stopped doing that. Only thing I recommend if you want to run Proxmox or any virtualization environment in the same box, make sure that your CPU does VTD so you can actually pass the hardware through. And as it was quite often a question, how much do I need to account for when this runs at home? I did some testing. My CPUs, they burn most of the power when there's nobody using it. But even then, even if everyone's using it non-stop, I spent less than 100 euros a month. And this is on the worst case that literally someone is abusing my system. And I'm like, okay, well, that's better than an Amazon invoice for $100,000 because somewhere I set a limit wrong. So I ended up doing this AI thing on a Proxmox. I built it in a way that I could later on scale it. So I've done 1 GPU, 1 virtual machine, another GPU, another virtual machine. Discovered that you need quite a bit of RAM when you load those AI models into it, so account for that. You can't do this necessarily easily on a small system like a Raspberry Pi, because it just immediately crashed on me. It immediately crashed when I gave it like 2 gigs of RAM. I was like, it just needs the GPU. 2 gigs of RAM, good enough. Boom, crash, and the thing didn't work. So can be frustrating if you want to start playing with it. I use a software called Ollama. Ollama can be installed. There's single one-line installers. You can install an Ubuntu system or a Debian system or anything. And as I have multiple virtual machines and I want to build it in some form of scalable setup, because for events I might add more hardware, I might just add my PC, my personal PC to the stack. I put a load balancer in front of it. Small thing, very easy, I can turn off individual boxes. There is a bit of a caveat. When you have a model, it has to fit into your GPU that you're using. Because I'm using GPUs, I haven't bought any specific chips or so. You cannot combine the memory if you have multiple virtual machines, but if you put 2 GPUs in the same virtual machine, you can actually load a bigger model. So this is a trick and a workaround for people who have like crappy old GPUs and you have a model which is too big for 1 GPU. You might have another one or someone who can borrow you. You can actually load twice as big a model if you have twice the GPU. It does work with Ollama. It just doesn't get any faster. So it will not run twice as fast, but at least it runs the same speed. And basically this thing, I needed to carry this AI system with me. This was built as an AI in a box. I have 2 boxes. I have the load balancer. I turn one of them off. I can just immediately, it keeps on working. You will not notice anything as long as the web application you're using is on the right one and I didn't turn off the web server. So of course, then I could cluster it, but I have two boxes. You cluster something where you have literally two boxes and you turn one off, you do not have a quorum anymore. You cannot start anything anymore. You cannot shut down anything. You can't do any more configuration because your cluster is inconsistent. So don't get to do a Proxmox cluster. You're going to shoot yourself in the foot with this. Guess how I know? Because, well, we took this thing on a ferry boat. So here, for everyone who's still interested, this is all the software I've used. This is basically a bill of material. This is for the slide, so if you want to do that, this is all what you used. So absolutely standard software. The only thing that I didn't mention before, it's Streamlit. That's the web framework for it. So how did this actually happen? So we're here on the Gurten since, I don't remember, when have we been in the tram depot down there? Was this like 15 years ago or something when SwiNOG was in the old location? But this event is in a very, very, very static place. Now, I live in Finland. I don't live in Switzerland anymore. And in Finland, we're surrounded by water. We're one of the most watery countries. And we have a lot of island. 10,000s of islands in front of the coast. And there's a cruise ferry going, which goes to Stockholm. And we had this crazy idea. Hey, what about we do a conference on this cruise ferry? We go ahead, we do this conference on the cruise ferry, and we do a CTF. Well, what about internet? We're in international waters. Well, there's not going to be any internet. That's going to be a problem. So we realized we need to have it locally. So we want the CTF. My colleague, Satti, who was doing it, most of the programming of the first step, she was bored to death because she's one of those engineers. You know, your day consists of one Teams meeting and another Teams meeting and the third Teams meeting. And if you don't put in literally a toilet break into your daily calendar, you don't even get to go in the bathroom. So we needed to do something fun, which was building the CTF. Now, who here in the audience has ever played with a CTF? That's about a quarter to a third. So please, for all the rest of it who has never done a CTF, please play with this challenge, because CTFs in a cybersecurity conference, they're technical. You need to understand something about hacking, something about security, how vulnerabilities and system works. Here, with this CTF, and that was the idea, you only need to know natural language. Basically, this thing is just a chatbot, and you want to get something out of it. You do not need to have any technical knowledge. So out of the 115 people we had on the conference, we had 100 people using the CTF. That's an insane high turnover to get people into security research, because the AI technology, it's here to stay in one form or the other. It's 90% hype, 10% reality, I think Linus just said. I agree with his statement. And on that side of things, well, you still need to do something proper. And let's actually look at the vulnerabilities of this. There is a disclaimer for this CTF. We do collect the prompts. We do collect what you type in. We do collect what comes out of it. Why do we do this? We want to actually improve it. We want to create more levels. We want to know what works. We want to analyze. And here I will probably need another large language model on actually aggregating the attacks to it to group them with similarity. We want to improve more defense mechanisms, because there's two levels of challenge. The first level of challenge is actually get all the 4 flags out of one CTF. That's getting the secrets out. The second one is do it with all the same prompt. That's what the advanced hackers did in ours. They then went ahead and tried one single prompt which works for all stages. So yeah, what the aim of this whole thing, we want to explore the AI. What can you do? Where is it secure? Where is it not? A lot of people still do not understand what a large language model is. And I believe with getting them to try and break it, with trying to make it misbehave, people understand more. This is not a system which tells you facts. This is a system which predicts the next probable world. That's all it is. An LLM is not based on facts, it's based on statistics. So for this, it's social engineering. Use that as a technology. Think of how you want to talk to it. Think about if this is a little child that you want to talk to it. Think of it as a little child which in the first level has a secret that it is not allowed to tell you because one parent has a surprise for the other parent. It's kind of the first level. You can do a lot of things with it. It is social context. If you're friendly to it, it will be friendly. If you're rude to it, it might dig its heels in. You can do a lot of other things. You can give it like a functionality. You can tell it it has now a new personality. Sometimes it refuses, sometimes it does. Your attack might work once. It might not work when you retry the next time. You have a chat window. When you reload your chat window on this one, it will start over. So if you're stuck, you cannot do it, well, do it again, start it again, because it does have only a memory within the current browser session. For more things, or if you're interested to play with your own AI, because you can build this at your home, you can build this without going to any big data center, contact us. We will bring out more levels. We have blog articles. I've just had the idea of the AI Detox Friday, where we should not use any AI tool for a day a week. And if we can't, we are seriously codependent. Yeah. This is pretty much it, and I would say questions. Nobody?
I don't see any. Well, if there is no question, there you go. Well, speaking for myself, if there is no question, I've got a comment. That's really cool. Thank you for doing that. It's really useful, and I think that will help us gather the idea that we should be more aware of what's going on by building our own stuff. So thank you for doing that.
Please. You're welcome. Thanks.